back, and if you didn't catch our 3rd of July special extravaganza, then you would have missed. If you didn't miss it, then you would have heard Cameron, because you would have been listening to it. And guess what? One of our favorites, Cameron Johnson, is back, broker with ITEX, 7-year veteran of the barter industry. And well, welcome back, Cameron.
Oh, well, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, you know, it's funny. We had all those fun lists of things we were yapping about on 4th of July.
Yep,
and
I made those too.
Heather made those lists.
She did.
She was not lying.
She does make lists. I'm so glad we know that now. Now I know when she's doodling and I'm not listening. I mean, when she's not listening,
making a list.
She's making lists. So Cameron, let's cut through the clutter of lists a little bit and go right to it here. So ITEX, we've talked a little bit about ITEX on the show, and you know, a lot of people, when they go into business, they have priorities, and a lot of times that is cash flow, and people maybe down that list a little bit is more marketing, it's doing more things, but maybe that cash flow isn't quite coming in. ITEX gives people the opportunity to almost, you know, fill or check off some of those priorities, but maybe not in such a conventional way that uses money.
Yes, that was a somewhat convoluted but accurate explanation. We provide a channel for people in a really simple way. We provide a channel for people to get things done without dipping into their existing cash. We drive customers new business, and that business is paid in the form of trade credits or barter dollars. In our case, they're called ITEX dollars, but you build up a bank. So when an ITEX customer calls you and says, I'd like you to do some work for me, here's the project. You do that work the same as you would for anybody else, but you're paid in ITEX dollars. Those ITEX dollars you earn by us driving you customers becomes a new revenue stream you can use to, as you said, check off items on your list, whether it be advertising, maybe healthcare for your family, maintenance on your physical location, and everything in between. That's what we do, is we pad that revenue stream and help you get more done on that list.
Well, and see, that seems to make a lot of sense, because essentially you drive a marketing engine because you have a community. That makes a lot of sense, right? So you have a community of people who will do work for you, or you can do work for them. And if you're doing work for them, which these are customers, you know, as a company, you bring somebody, now you have a new revenue source of which money you can spend.
Yep. Yeah, it's generating new sales. It doesn't get any more simple than that. We bring new sales to our customers. Customers that did not patronize, give you their patronage befwill
patronize them.
Yeah, it's almost caught myself there. But those folks will do business with you because you're willing to take their ITEX trade dollars.
Well, and be clear about the dollars. If anybody, is listening and hasn't heard of ITEX before, it's not like your own version of Monopoly money.
No, we don't print out stacks of blue backs or whatever and put them in your hand. It's a digital system. It's tracked electronically. You log in like your Visa or your MasterCard or your checking account through your bank. It's all managed electronically. It's a digital currency. But again, it acts like a third spending stream. Your business, you've got your bank account, you've got your credit card for your business, and ideally, in my opinion, you should have your ITEX account.
But see, what's interesting about that is you're not, like, if I was a member of ITEX or somebody else was, I don't have to go find somebody who's going to take ITEX. You are actually bringing new customers to me.
Yes.
And that's a part of that I don't know that people understand.
Yes, we do. We absolutely market our customers to one another aggressively, and successfully, I have to say. I had a not to toot her horn too much, but I just had a new staff member come on board that I'm really excited about. And in her first month, she generated $250,000 in trade volume, which is what we call the amount of business our clients did with each other. So here in the local Seattle area alone, one of my staff members brought $250,000 in new business to companies in our market. And it's in trade business, but that's $250,000 in revenue they can now spend without dipping into their cash flow. And that's significant.
Well, over the course of a year, that's essentially a $3 million mini economy.
Absolutely.
So that's, it's something that people can tap into. And then I like the fact that you could check things off your list that you may not have been able to do before. You talked about maybe you want new uniforms for your company. Maybe you want, maybe you need to do something at your house. You get to make your priority list and then check some things off without having to come out of pocket per se.
Absolutely. Nothing, I'll tell you from experience, nothing feels better than getting something you desperately needed or desperately wanted and not having to, call up Bank of America or Washington Mutual about it. I just bought a copy machine. Big, nice, fancy, expensive, cool copy machine that my staff and I are going to be happy with for years. The cash I paid for it was for sales tax and setup. The remaining, the several $1,000s, those things are not cheap, was all trade. And so I didn't have to break the bank setting up my office with a really nice piece of office equipment. So it's like a double victory almost.
Is there any reason that people wouldn't benefit from it?
If you are a business owner who has very low margin on the goods you sell, if you're selling lumber and, you're making a nickel per sheet of wood, you probably won't make money bartering. You have to have a margin built into your service of a certain level. There are certain industries we don't approach manufacturers very often, for example. The higher your margins, the more profitable it is for you to barter because you're using leverage when you trade. And also, a little bit of trade is good for almost everybody. One of the things we caution, which often surprises people, is we actually cap most of our customers' trade. You shouldn't replace your cash business with ITEX.
Because you can't pay your mortgage with ITEX.
Or your taxes, unfortunately, or anything like that. You shouldn't replace, you should only supplement. So there aren't a ton of people, I should say, should never trade, but we definitely limit some. And then in a few specific industries, for example, the airlines, they used to barter fairly heavily, but now that their profits are so negative, and mostly it's because inventory control with the internet is now phenomenal and instantaneous. So we don't work with airlines. It's something that they just don't barter anymore. But there's a huge selection.
But you do work with hotels?
We do work with hotels and rental car companies. And, so there's in every field, there's a little bit of something you can almost always trade for.
We're here with Cameron Johnson, owner of the ITEX branch here in Seattle. Cameron, just have a couple minutes left before we go to break. But when you start talking about some of the people you're bringing on, you actually brought somebody with you, Elizabeth Bauman.
Yes.
Who is, she has a business and now is able to utilize your marketing efforts, the currency and whatnot. And we're going to talk with Elizabeth in a little bit, but how does somebody like with a small business find you typically, or how do you find them?
It works both ways. As often as not, we find them. Number one, we're online, itex.com. Very simple. It's our national website. You can see all the ITEX offices around the country. Check us out, videos, all that good stuff. You can also call my office, of course. We're on Google Maps, and we're on the internet, and we're everywhere.
You're on the internet, huh?
Oh, yes. I made sure I put us on the internet myself. And then, we reach out to customers quite a bit. One of the services we actually provide is if someone says, hey, I need a service that I don't have. I don't know.
That ITEX doesn't.
Exactly. Somebody says, hey, I need a fence built, and I don't have a fence company. One of the things we'll do is we'll go prospect them on our members' behalf. And it's actually a very successful sales tool. Business owners like to hear, hey, I have a job for you. And that's sort of exciting for them. So when we come in and say, hey, we have a job for you, now it's slightly non-traditional. Here's how it would work. But more often than not, we get a lot of interest from offers like that. So we do approach members and potential customers, and oftentimes it's with a request from one of our existing members. So we try to work on both ends at the same time.
Well, we got to go to break here, but let's bring Elizabeth Bauman in here just in a minute when we come back. We'll talk a little bit more about ITEX, and Elizabeth is the president and founder of Innovatively Organized. So as we organize our priorities here and figure out how to some innovative ways to cross them off, well, she can probably help us understand how to organize them. We'll be right back after this break. I'm Ben Brashen. You're listening to Brashenomics.